Just kind of give me your impressions of how today went. I thought the defense looked very aggressive, forced the offense into some, long distance downs and things like that, but what were your impressions?
Yeah, I thought that they came out with great energy today and played hard. I think that, we talk about this all the time, that it's about us just developing consistency and being able to play the next play and good or bad. I think that, all great defenses have to be able to play with their back against the wall a little bit and play on a short field, and those are the things that we talked to them about today, is that, you can't have self-inflicted wounds when the field gets shorter, because now those mistakes they're magnified so much more, and especially our guys offensively don't need any help. I think that you've got guys out there that give you very little margin for error in terms of what we're facing offensively right now, and doing a great job of all the different looks we get, stressing our guys with their eye discipline and footwork and key reads and those types of things. So, but I thought their energy and overall effort was pretty good today, and managed that throughout the majority of the scrimmage.
Mike, what about you from the offensive side? In talking to Coach Mallory, I think he thought the offense got better as the scrimmage went along. What were your impressions?
There's no doubt there. Slow start, and one of the first words Brad said is consistency. Making sure that that's from first snap to last. And it took us a while to get going a little bit there. You talk about the defense getting us in some tough situations behind the chains. That makes it hard, to move the ball. And it's just about the consistency up front in terms of the pressure we're allowing, or any possible pre-snap penalties, are killers. So I stressed that throughout the scrimmage in terms of, we must calm down, be consistent, and keep on pushing through. You're going to have some negative plays. You're going to have some tough situations in terms of third and long, but you got to keep on pushing through. And I think we definitely responded as the scrimmage continued to go on. But early on, man, it's got to be from snap one. You can't start to feel things out and take your time to get going. You really got to go from snap one going forward. So I think we did do some good things as it went on, but overall I think we've got to be much more consistent, for us to be a lot more successful.
For both of you guys, where does this scrimmage kind of fit in the context of the spring? I mean, the spring game is where most people focus their attention as it being the end, and but I know this scrimmage is important too in terms of kind of putting together what you've built in practice so far. For both sides of the ball, where did this scrimmage kind of fit into the grand scheme of things a little bit for both guys?
But I think, like you said, when you get to the spring game, you're obviously scaled back a little bit in what you're doing, and you just want to see your guys go out and play and come out healthy and have that spring game's kind of for them, as a culmination to their effort and attitude and hard work throughout the spring. I think defensively right now we've got a significant amount of guys that are playing new positions, even on the same side of the ball, and then obviously some guys that have come over from the offensive side of the ball are playing new positions. So I think what you find the more and more you go through it, learning the scheme is one thing, and understanding the coverage and your eyes and your keys and your communication and where you need to be is one thing, but how the situation you're in, how that affects the scheme is entirely different. You put a coverage in, for example, some of those guys in the back end that are playing the position for the first time, and Coach Hope goes over with them, or Coach Broomfield, the ins and outs of the coverages, but how does that differ on 3rd and 4 as to 3rd and 12, or in a 2-minute situation, or in the red zone? And that's what you can't get enough of. And I think that's where you see those guys grow the most, is they've gotten themselves in a spot right now where they know what we're doing, now understanding how to execute that and how things change. Either when the field gets shorter or even the field gets longer, and then obviously in the 2-minute situations in the red zone. So, but I think where it fits for us is like I said, that the guys are. I think that there's a pretty good understanding of what we have, and moving forward, feel good about a lot of guys running around out there. So it just continues to go along with, like I said, understanding the situations and how they apply, and being able to stay focused and move on to the next play, and just continue to play snap after snap.
What about you, Mark, from the defensive side?
Today, being our longest scrimmage is a big scrimmage for sure, and we put a lot of focus on it. But offensively, what we're doing right now is what we're going to continue to do. The majority, very, very, very little has not been covered in terms of we got everything in, and what you've seen really from even carry over from the first couple of practices is what we're going to do. So just hitting on what Brad's saying is it's situational football, okay, and how that changes, and you come out to our practices and how we drill different 2-minute situations, we drill different parts of the field, the big four. That's a huge emphasis for us in terms of that changes dramatically for not only defense but offense, all right, and in terms of what I'm seeing up front or what the quarterback's seeing, and there's fantastic teaching in all of those situations, which we got a lot today, getting into the red zone, getting inside the 10-yard line, the goal line. That's fantastic football for those guys, and now to go back, teach and coach off of, which is awesome. But no, it was a big scrimmage for sure, and I think the guys felt that a little bit, understand it was a little bit longer, and we did get in some different situations in terms of more so the red zone fringe and all that kind of stuff. But I'm excited, and I told the guys offensively, I said, don't look at this last week of spring ball as, okay, we've only got 3 practices left. Hey guys, we only got 3 practices left. We got to get everything we can out of this, you know what I'm saying? And those guys have to have that mindset going forward where, hey, we're almost done. Hey, no, let's get all this work in. We got three practices to do so. And I think that we'll definitely, take that approach in terms of the spring game, and spring game is still going to be a big deal for us, and there's no doubt about that. But the mindset going forward in this last week of spring ball is to continue to get better and work on those small details and the consistency in what we talked about earlier.
Neither unit is 100%. Both units are missing guys who are going to play, when the games begin. What are you guys seeing out of the guys who are getting an opportunity to practice, get more reps, that the starters would typically have? For both of you guys, what are you seeing out of some of the guys who are getting a little bit more of an opportunity?
I think that you're, in a lot of ways, again, it's in some cases things are moving really fast for them, and that's always what you get, especially with some of those young guys that haven't repped a lot. The game is moving very, very fast, and with the way the game is today, it's pre-snap, it moves fast. In terms of shifts, motions, alignments, checks, adjustments. I think that, but what you hope is that we've tried to keep it, as Mike was saying about with what you have installed and what you're doing. It does affect what you're doing a little bit there, because you're not trying to put too much on their plate that you can't just go see them play, and you can't see their natural ability, and in a lot of cases the first time for a lot of these guys come out. So for example, you look at a guy like a Johnny May who's been kind of thrust in with the twos and has done a great job, and obviously is playing more football now than he did for us in the fall, and we've got a lot on his plate. I mean, as a Mike linebacker, you're responsible for everything that goes on in that front seven, in a lot of ways, some communication with the back end, and if we can't get lined up right, we're going to have a hard time executing defense. So he's got a lot on his plate, probably more so than he ever has, but he's handled it well, and Johnny's a mature kid, that football's important to him. Kelvin Broom is obviously a guy that has played and has been here, but again, just can't get him in enough situations for him to understand how his play is affected by where the ball is on the field, what the situation in the game is. So, and I think you're seeing that all across the board, whether it's with new guys or guys that are young that haven't had a lot of snaps. Is they're thrust into opportunities, and we tell our guys all the time, it's pick up the rifle and go. I mean, nobody cares about your situation, and you're going to be expected to execute, and the expectation's the position. So you hope that those guys that are out right now are doing a great job of demanding that of them, even more so than us as coaches, because they know when it comes right down to it throughout the course of the season, we're going to need them all. They're all going to have to play at some point. So it's been good to see those guys get out there and have their roles increased, not only on offense and defense, but special teams.
I love it. I mean, in terms of guys getting reps, it's huge for us. I mean, it's obviously easy if you've got, the same 5 coming back up front. Okay, these guys have a great understanding. They've got a great feel. You talked about it with the guys earlier in terms of just the base overall understanding with each other, man. You got that whole, the unity of it. You played with each other. That's easy. What's hard is when you don't, and when you've got to consistently build that. And whether it's the depth at, any position offensively, if new guys are in there, yeah, we're going to take some lumps in terms of some base understanding and some mental mistakes. But those guys getting the reps this spring has been absolutely amazing for the development of those guys. And I talked about it earlier this spring in terms of the stress and the importance we place on the development of our younger players is massive, because just like Brad said, you're going to need everybody. And when you get through a season, you saw it last year with the running back group, we're playing with truly a fourth or fifth string guy. And that's not just at that spot, but that's across the whole board. So, it could put you in some straining situations in terms of spring ball where, hey, you wish you had this guy, wish you had that guy. I like it because now everybody's truly getting the pressure put on them, and it puts those guys in a situation where they need to perform. And they don't feel that for the first time when they're going to be the guy. They feel it right now when they're a freshman who redshirted and they're getting every rep with the ones or whatever it might be. I think that's a unique opportunity for a young guy to really grow as a player and really continue his development going forward.
While you're here, Mike, I wanted to talk to you about the offensive line. You probably overheard some of the questions I asked those guys, and very experienced unit, which you love to have in your offensive line. You coached them last year, of course, as the unit coach. Where do you start to get into the devil of the details with an experienced unit? You're not necessarily teaching them, like you would a freshman, obviously. Where do you take your level of coaching for a team that has worked together so much, and how do you make them even better than they already are? How does that work with an experienced unit like that?
It still continues though with those very small details of the base stuff. Okay, so how we're set up in the room in terms of, I'm not just coaching at those 5 guys. I'm coaching at the guys who are now getting reps right now, who are sitting in the back of the room very young. We build now this understanding overall where these guys truly understand the calls, okay, and they understand the base fronts and where to go and how to do it. But there is an element of these 5 who play together, a guy like Waz making specific calls versus a specific front, and linebacker alignment, all this stuff. Yes, at that point now we're getting to a whole nother level, and those guys are feeling that. And it's my job to have them understand it and be able to recognize it, and then now go do something about it. So I really try and give those guys some freedom in terms of, what kind of calls we're making, what we're calling the calls. If it's their call, that means something. Hey, we make this zit call, zone it inside. Okay, great. All that kind of stuff means a lot more when it's now on their end, and they're the ones that are really taking charge on it, which has been really good. But no, you do have an ability to really coach in even detailed and really focus on more football knowledge overall, understand what the defense is doing. Everything offensively, we're based on what our scheme is, what our block is versus this front. Well, when you're really cooking is, hey, how do you react versus movement? How do you react versus this pressure? How can you now, see safety off the hash, okay, alert corner cat. All this kind of stuff is the level at which some of these guys are now seeing things, and it becomes pretty special at that point when they can have that kind of communication going forward and really set themselves up for success as a whole group.
There's the football part of it, like you just spoke about, and you always want your offensive line to be the heart of the offense regardless. But these guys are also experienced enough to be leaders just in the general sense. And how are they kind of taking that mantle, this season?
They're doing a good job, and I challenge them every day because it is a unique situation where 4 guys who have been here, their entire time at Indiana State, with Isaiah being a little bit of a mix in terms of transferring in, but these guys have been here through it all. And in terms of what you've been through and the amount of respect you have from other guys on the team is massive. So the amount of effect that you have on anyone on the team is also massive. And they've got to understand what kind of situation they're in, where they're under a microscope, by all coaching staff, by people on campus, but whether they know it or not, by the players on the team. These guys are looking at their every move, man. And some of these younger players and student athletes are really impressionable to, hey, what the leaders on the team are doing. So I made sure that they focused on that, and that was right after the season, all through winter conditioning and everything. It's a challenge of, I've got to come to work every day and understand I've got eyes on me, and I've got to put the right foot forward and really build, the right image of what it means to do things right and to work your butt off and really overachieve. But no, I've been happy with them. I think we still can, have a little bit more of a voice and be a little bit more vocal. I think they're more so by action, and all that. But I'm happy in terms of their experience and being around college football for now 4 to 5 years and understanding of it all. They do a good job, specifically the O-line with the younger offensive linemen, but I want to see that now branch out to offense, the whole team, and all the above.